He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. I'm Alex Marlow. I'm glad you're here, and we'll get to some positive stuff today later in the show. But we'll start with where the world is at right now, trying to make sense of the inexplicable, the pure evil, the truly insane, what we witnessed in Minneapolis, where a trans freak tried to execute children while they prayed to Jesus Christ. And yet the establishment media could not see it that way. They see it every other which way. I've got some audio that will be disturbing, but I will start with some new details that were first reported by the New York Post, that the Minneapolis school shooter, I'll note the first name. I really try to avoid the entire name because it just gives the insane person what they want. But the person who goes by Robin now confessed that he was tired of being trans. So, and again, the pronouns is an issue. And when I saw Fox, I saw the New York Times using the feminine pronoun, even though this person's a biological male. And now we learned from this report in the New York Post that the person was tired of being trans and wished he never had been brainwashed. So my original take on this that I made in real time, the Charlie Kirk show, I echoed it on my podcast yesterday, and I'm seeing it repeated, of course, without credit, but whatever, that's fine. That's been my life forever online, is that this is an extremely online person. This is a person who has been brainwashed by living in this alternative reality. There's a social media web that a lot of these young people get caught into, and they don't develop any social skills. They don't develop any skills that could be applicable to the workforce. You can't build a relationship. All they know is how to exist in the online virtual ecosystem. So their avatar is their real self, and their real self is just sort of imaginary, ethereal. And this person admits that they were brainwashed online. That makes a lot of sense because, as I noted on yesterday's broadcast, if you look at some of the sloganeering, some of the cliches, some of the images that appear on the weapons as well as in the quote-unquote manifesto this person had, someone who just existed purely in an online www sense of things. That was who they were. And so now the person we're learning was tired of being trans and was brainwashed. So clearly, this is a person who is of weak mind and was susceptible to evil influences online. And that's how the devil got in. The devil absolutely got in. There's no other way to put it. It's what it is. Devil preying upon the weakest among us and using that as a vessel to target children. That's what happened. It's flat out. And this is just more evidence of that. And yet we're still seeing the confusion that creates a climate where this is possible play out throughout the day on the internet as we see the reporting of some of the biggest publications in the world still playing with the pronouns, getting the pronouns wrong, acting as if this clearly male individual who is mentally ill and evil, which is occasionally overlaps, occasionally doesn't, that they are trying to be indulging the trans contagion by insisting and referring to this man as a she. How's it been going for us? It's always a question I ask. How's that been going? The indulgence of everything transgender for everyone, as Trump says. All right, here is none other than Jake Tapper himself on CNN. You have to hear this to believe it.
Another piece of the puzzle as to who the shooter was. The Minneapolis Star Tribune says, according to court records, because there's been some confusion about what the shooter's name was.
Yes.
Robin Westman's mother applied to change her child's name in 2019. It was at one point Robert Paul Westman.
Correct.
But since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin Westman.
She wants to identify as a female. It's obviously a guy. And someone who regrets whatever trans, maybe he would detransition if he was alive long enough and killed himself after murdering children. So why we're indulging mental health patients, these psychopaths who are using their mental health as a legitimization for them to murder children in their own psychotic souls, then why do we continue to indulge this posthumously? Why? What's the point that Jake Tapper is trying to do here? I always wonder what's going on. What's going on in Jake Tapper's personal life? Remember, he's got a wife who was a Planned Parenthood activist. He's got older kids. Maybe some of the kids have to deal with some of this stuff. I don't know, man. That's pretty disturbing coming from Tapper. He seems like a straight guy. It seems like he doesn't want to be totally viewed as inaccessible for normal Americans. It's a very extreme position to say we're going to insist this clear man who is trans psychopath that killed children, we're going to insist on honoring his pronouns after the fact. That's very dark. And from a guy like Tapper, really in particular, just kind of, you would think he'd be savvy enough to not do that at this point, but he's not anymore. Because you know why? I think he feels like it irritates us. It doesn't really. It just makes it look like there's something really wrong with Tapper. We're not irritated by this anymore. At least the way he does it. We lost hope in Tapper a decade ago. So it's an interesting place where the media is trying to tie themselves up in knots, and I'm hoping all of you see this as an absurdity. There was unbelievably not the most absurd thing I caught on CNN. This was something that even is worse somehow. Check this.
So I think that the question of what the charges are is something that we want to talk about, but I think that the facts have to lead to that. And it's not the essence of taking, in this case, a kid who probably sat in the pew at that church when he went to school there, and saying, oh, for some reason he has some particular bent against Catholics or against Christians.
So this is a person named Catherine Schweit, a consultant and speaker on workplace violence, who's on because I guess this person's had a mother or somebody who worked at the school and he had gone to the school at some point. So it wasn't just that this place was targeted because it was convenient and this guy clearly hates God and Jesus and had all these slogans on it, like we hate your God now. Here's what we knew when this person went on TV and said this. He hates religion, he hates Jesus, he hates Trump. We know that stuff. But they're going to tell us that it was just a coincidence that he timed this for Mass while they were literally praying to God. And they're going to go live on CNN with this. Jake Tapper he's actually a she cuckoldry. Like, that's one thing. We're accustomed to that. But this was really interesting and I believe just truly demonic that CNN would allow for this to go on their air. I'm not saying that they, pre-screen this interview, but they get this person this is where you're supposed to rely on CNN. And it's noteworthy for anyone who's watching the streams. Andy McCabe, one of the least trustworthy people on the planet, is in the frame for some reason. What can Andy McCabe possibly have to say about this stuff? I guess he was a crime fighter in a former life, but he existed to go after Trump. He didn't exist to stop trans terrorists from killing Catholics. What's Andy McCabe doing here? So they get this person on here, and she says that shooting up a mass was not necessarily targeting Christians. Do you have mental, that is mental gymnastics to get to that point. Let's hear the rest, and then I've got more on that point.
Christians, there would have to be some push together, gathering together effects that would really kind of indicate that this entire intent of this crime was to injure this particular people of this particular religion, just much like we see the shooter in the top shooting in Buffalo who went there, a white man who went there to shoot blacks and made it very clear that that's why he was going there. So hate crimes can come in many, unfortunately, many colors and flavors, but the facts will have to lead us to whether or not there is some particular hate.
If you look at the manifesto, you look at the art this guy had, if you look at the etchings on his guns, guy hates Jesus, he hates religion. He feels like that the devil is a part of him. He's got a drawing, looking in the mirror, and it's Satan looking back at him. This guy hates Catholics. Why is it so difficult for CNN? He hates religious children. Now, what makes him do this? Is it just pure mental illness? Is it demonic possession? I don't know what it is, but the guy obviously hates Catholics. What is the point of this? Especially when so little is known at this point. We learned today, I'm looking at the New York Post again, Minneapolis shooter targeted school mass after finding details online knowing the parents won't be there. The parents won't be there. This person figured out when all the children will be gathered together in prayer, and that's when he struck. And CNN feels like it's responsible to deny that on their air. The reason why I'm angry is not that I care about what CNN does, is because the war on truth, the full onslaught on truth, We've got to, big and small, it's an irritation. It just is. I get annoyed when I'm at the T-ball game and some of the parents are telling my kids to keep your elbow up. Like, it's not true. I taught baseball. I taught hitting. You don't need to have your elbow up. Watch a major league game. Some guys got their elbow down. Some got it up. You don't have to have your elbow up. And everyone yells, put your elbow up. I don't know why, but they do. And to go out there and to say that the targeting of children while they prayed at Mass was not anti-Catholic, this makes society more chaotic. It means we don't value truth as a society. We should value truth. If we don't have at least a yearning to find truth, which is impossible in some cases, but unless we yearn for it, then what do we have? And nothing. So really important here, and I think that connects with a lot of themes. And I'll connect some of this to breaking the law later, but as I noted in breaking the law, it's almost impossible to get a crime against Christians categorized as a hate crime. As I said in yesterday's show, it's a rounding error how many hate crimes against Christians have been prosecuted in this country. Virtually non-existent. Out of the hundreds of examples they could have taken. And instead, you see the judicial system being applied more harshly towards Christians who are routinely arrested for peacefully protesting outside places like abortion clinics. So that's where we're at. So this person didn't know that clearly they went to air without knowing that the person specifically targeted the Mass. The school's first Mass of the year, by the way. Think that's a coincidence? All right, very, very interesting that's what the CNN feels like they got to do. I just don't know why. I just don't get it. I don't get it because it's destroying what little credibility they have left. They don't have that much to play with. They don't have that much room to play with. Michael Steele had Ilhan Omar on for some reason. You get Catholic shot up. I guess it's a Minnesota connection. But like why he thought Michael Steele was the Republican chairman. He's on MSNBC in the cuckold seat. Fine. Like, I get it. There's a big living to be made there. But it's what could possibly go right here? Let me play this for you.
Appreciate this journey. I agree with the mayor. I'm not the thoughts and prayers. I'm so beyond that nonsense, the lie of that, because what we have are people.
What's the lie? I don't understand this. Why is it a lie to pray and to offer thoughts and prayers for families who are either grieving or at a minimum very stressed out about what's going on? I don't understand this. I'm not someone who ever throws out the thoughts and prayers tweet. I never do that. But what's so bad about it? I don't understand. Is not enough? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, are you supposed to go try to quickly fly to Minneapolis and jump in front of a bullet for the kids if we can? That's not going to happen. So what's the best we can do there? To show concern? Maybe it's a small comfort to some people. Maybe small comfort for yourself. So it's very stressful going through this stuff. Okay, let's see where he goes.
People who continue to stand in the way of actually doing something to stop the violence against their own kids. It is amazing to me. We watch young kids die in classrooms and now in church.
So, of course, a lot of discussion is about guns, but it really should be about trans. Dr. Gorka did us all a service on his X page. He went through a lot of the trans shooters that are going on. 2023, this was the Nashville one, that the Covenant School in Nashville killed 6 people, including 3 children. And then he goes through, I don't want to read the names, I don't like reading the names, but he goes through 7 other examples dating back to 2018. So it's over 1 a year. All cross-dresser or trans or non-binary or gender fluid who had been involved in these mass shootings. So we got a pattern here. Now, I, for one, don't think the trans part is the main component of what motivated this person to shoot up Catholic kids. I think it's pure evil combined with deep mental illness. But I think that the trans is an evidence. It's a piece of evidence that this person, someone should have laid hands on this person, figuratively speaking. Probably should have been completely institutionalized. If not, they should have made sure this person wasn't in possession of guns. and maybe was doing some work or community service, something meaningful with their time instead of just sitting online, looking at memes and then getting firearms and preparing themselves to ruin lives of families. So, but we continue to indulge it. New York Times referring to this guy as her. I mean, what good does this accomplish? At least the online outrage is so intense now. And this is a big service that the Elon Musk has done. I gotta say, Musk having a tough day because Tesla is getting their butts kicked right now. And all these Asian EV companies, particularly in China, are just catching up in an unbelievable way to Tesla. But I'll tell you, this is a service he did with the X platform, which I have to say on net, I don't know if I like it better than before he bought it. I'm serious. I just don't. I used to be able to see everything the left was thinking. They were an open book on that platform. I could get a full assessment of what the left, where their minds were at by looking at their Twitter feeds when it was Twitter. But one thing that he has done is that it is an environment where if you're going to put out nonsense, like referring to this male shooter as a her, to honor his pronouns after he murdered children, then you're going to get crushed. And that's what's happening in places like the New York Times today. So, Nolte's got a piece in the media pretending that the motivation is a mystery. It's just so unbelievable. And people are highlighting it's not just CNN. It's apparently MSNBC had all these people on as well. It's just, they can't stop. Yeah, New York Times, the motive is a mystery. It hates families, hates children, hates Catholics, hates religion, hates people of faith, hates himself. I mean, there's a lot of motivations. They're not mysterious at all. I had an interesting idea. The Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, the pretty boy, whiny face, who was out there passionately saying nothing yesterday other than that he hates guns. He says people should not be able to buy a gun month after month after month. I mean, you can't keep buying guns. So he wants to, of course, go into the gun control. Amy Klobuchar also getting ripped for calling for an assault rifle ban, assault weapons ban. So insensitive. You used to have sort of a 48-hour grace period before you blatantly politicize tragedy like this, but now you don't. But anyway, I was thinking about this with Jacob Frey calling for a gun ban. I have an idea, and this is a big idea, so check this out with me. Bear with me on this. What if we played along and we said gun bans for trans? Gun bans for trans. Gun bans for trans. Let's do it like that. We could do a great slogan. I could probably do a shirt. Misty, we could do this. We got to get a Marlowe store going. It's pretty easy now. You can do these things, print on demand. Would you guys buy it? Aloha@alexmarlowe.com. If you would buy gun bans for trans shirts. In fact, I shouldn't even be doing this on the air. It's too good of an idea. But I'm already going for it. Must credit Marlowe. Patent pending. Gun bans for trans. So if we said that we're going to do a national assault weapons ban, but only for trans, would the left get behind it? They would not. But I would love to see it. I'd love to get them on record. The reason why they need to get on record is because if they think guns are the problem and you could restrict it and get the whole country on board, because this is one where you would think most Democrats would be for it and you would think a good chunk of Republicans would be for it. You would think that, yeah, I don't know, maybe pull off 60, 70% of each party. This could be a overwhelmingly popular issue. But would the Democrat politicians go along with it? I don't think they would. Because they want to protect their ability to pander to the LGBTQ plus and the DEIB. I got the B definition for you. That's coming for you in a little bit. I got that. It's coming up. But you could put them on the spot and say, do you support this ban? Which would take some crazy people would no longer have assault weapons. That's their terminology, of course. It's a term of art, assault weapons. There's no dictionary definition for it that makes any coherent sense. So I think we pitch that and see if they take it. Because for us, that means fewer crazy people with assault weapons, which is not that bad. And for them, maybe it's the beginning of them feeling like they can gain some ground with the Second Amendment. So in our logic could be, well, mentally ill people should not have access to high-capacity weaponry. If they're, diagnosable, dangerous to society, they shouldn't be able to get guns. So we've got that level of restrictions to this point. So maybe this is the place where we could all come together. Gun bans for trans. That's it. That's what we're doing here. There's so many troubling factors here. The targeting of Christians, and I've been told Kash Patel is going to pursue this as a hate crime, even though it is a posthumous deal because there's no one really to be able to account here. Though I do want to talk to the parents. We got to talk to them. But ChatGPT apparently has been providing troubling answers to high-risk suicide questions. Basically, you can get a how-to guide printed out for you. And this is just going to add to the we're too online chaos for adolescents. The fact that teenagers, young adults, people in their early 20s are forced to come of age in this artificial social media environment where they're losing basic social skills. And they're also told these lies about life, about wealth, and about meaning, and about how you're supposed to spend your time. And the people with the best jawlines who do the best pranks and have the best morning routines are being held up as the leaders of society. Which is, there's always some version of that. I'm not saying that we haven't had to overcome our share of that. Think about the way we put Hollywood on a pedestal for so long and continue to do so in some ways. But it's just an extra thing that needs to be avoided with all these, and they're so addictive. That's the other thing, is it's so unbelievably addictive and is constantly around you. And it's clearly supplanting normal play. It's the phone-based life versus the play-based life. That's the big topic of discussion last couple of years. And it just goes beyond that to replacing God. The person doesn't have God in their life, and they do have all of this online input. And yet you get people like Stephen King blaming the gun. Trans is not the problem. He had a gun. You don't have to say anything. Just say nothing. Just ride it out for this one. Let's wait a second. But it's noteworthy that things continually get easier for people to get radicalized online, not harder. Because ChatGPT, which has South Park roasted them this week, they just affirm everything. They're very positive about everything. You go with a terrible idea and ChatGPT encourages you. And that's what we're seeing here with these high-risk suicide questions, that they're essentially offering encouraging answers. So we got a big story on that at Breitbart News for you. But one point on this, before I get you my definition of DEIB, which I did look up for you. One thing that was noteworthy that I thought was an important point that I did not make. This is why we call Tim Walz Tampon Tim, because he's the guy who wanted the tampons in the men's room. And recall, the Democrats had their big confab last week in Minnesota. And these Democrats not only cheered for transgender stuff, but they were funding it. So right before the mass shooting in Minnesota, the Democrats are offering money. They're offering these pandering, like cutting their hair, dyeing their hair, wearing trans colors, wearing trans paraphernalia. The lieutenant governor of Minnesota, protect trans kids, and on a shirt. The shirt had a knife on it. So you get all these people that are just bending over backwards to pander to the trans community. Here is Tampon Tim. Check this.
Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota. And
first of all, what is he talking about? That's an incoherent statement. I got to play it again just because I can't follow. Per capita, the Minnesota is the best per capita in Minnesota?
Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota. And
look, if you talk behind a mic enough, then you're going to make some mistakes. I mean, I make them every show. Basically, I'll catch something, but that was an unfortunate one because I don't really know what he's saying. So, but that's why we call him Tampon Tim, because he panders to the trans more than he panders to the citizens. He cares more about the trans than the citizens. So, and we got a big uphill climb here. So the DEIB, I looked it up because this is where the Cracker Barrel lady, who I was ranting about last couple of shows and on my Instagram page, she was instituting not just DEI at Cracker Barrel, she was instituting DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and we got a new letter. It's belonging, fostering a sense of community and acceptance. That's so that individuals can truly fit in. How many of you are preoccupied with this? How come people don't get their self-worth from accomplishment, from trying to be right with God, trying to have a great family, trying to have a great meaningful job, volunteering, being up on your taxes, being in good shape. You're just supposed to be entitled to a sense of belonging. Go earn it. Go out and earn it. This whole thing that you're just supposed to exist and live and breathe and that's good enough, it's just not good for the soul. This is what gets people trapped in these online worlds where they're not able to interact with reality. They're trying to avoid reality. A lot of this is the subject of my Breitbart Fight Club discussion today with John Nolte, who we talk about both the media reaction to the trans shooter as well as the Cracker Barrel stuff. And he was really emphasizing that the Cracker Barrel content, it was not just that they changed the logo, it's they had this grooming page online. This is the one that I referenced yesterday where they have the LGBTQ plus alliance and the DEIB team at Cracker Barrel. So trying to pander to people who are just not the target demo. And we go into how they're just thumbing their nose at their core audience, which is offensive and maybe not something that's going to get totally forgiven. All right, a lot of other stuff to get to today, but before we do that, I do want to tell you about a really fantastic sponsor that I'm excited to partner with. It really has to do with something near and dear to my heart, which is the state of Israel. The Bible teaches us that in a world full of broken promises, one covenant remains unshakable. That's God's eternal promise, his unwavering commitment to Israel, his beloved people. And now more than ever, God's calling Christians everywhere to support Israel, to be a living testimony that his promises endure forever. I've chosen to partner with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews as one way to align myself with God's eternal plan. For over 40 years, his wonderful ministry has faithfully provided nutritious food, care, and life-saving aid to Israel's most vulnerable, the poor, the elderly, many of whom are actually Holocaust survivors. And when crisis strikes like rocket attacks or urgent humanitarian needs, the IFCJ is already on the ground responding with compassion and support. So join me in standing for Israel and declaring God's faithfulness to all generations. To learn more, find out how you can help, and you can visit ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. All right. Next up, I want to do a couple of lawfare conversations that I think are important. Jack Smith's attorney, because you know Jack Smith under investigation. So far, we got two. Jack Smith, Letitia James. We're gonna get more. But his attorney, I got to kick out this quote, saying that lawfare is imaginary and unfounded. I thought this was so great because this is where Smith was one of the main lawfare proponents. And I go through his whole history in Breaking the Law. All that's available to you if you are pick up the book. You can get the whole thing. But the predicate of the investigation, according to his lawyers from Covington and Burling, which is a big white shoe firm, is imaginary and unfounded, talking about the lawfare and that he was a part of the apparatus. But here's the problem with Jack Smith, is his whole appointment was unconstitutional. He was known as a left-wing activist who had an activist wife, and he was dragged back from The Hague to prosecute Trump. And I asked them, and this is where I think the investigation should go with Smith, is that at the moment he was being appointed, this is the moment where Matthew Colangelo, the ringer from the DOJ, was sent down to Alvin Bragg's office, a massive demotion, to try to bust Trump in Manhattan. And it was the same time Nathan Wade started making 8-hour visits to the White House. The family attorney and boyfriend of Fani Willis all of a sudden was showing up at the White House for 8 hours at a time. This all happened simultaneously. It is one of the key revelations in Breaking the Law. There's no way these three things happen simultaneously. 1 month after the Democrats lost the midterm election, which meant they were going to lose their opportunity to have their J6 kangaroo court and control the narrative that way. So it's all connected. I hope that's where it goes. But it's funny where they just go and just take it a hard line. It's imaginary. It's unfounded. Well, I got a 220-page book you can look at. You can look at all that. A lot of people I'm going to be eating crow on the Ambassador Bolton stuff. A 5 byline story at the New York Times this is from yesterday. Let me read you a couple of paragraphs from it. The investigation into President Trump's former national security advisor, John R. Bolton, began to pick up momentum during the Biden administration. During the Biden administration, when the U.S. intelligence officials collected information that appeared to show that he mishandled classified information. Going on, including emails with sensitive information that Mr. Bolton, while still working in the first Trump administration, appeared to have sent to people close to him on an unclassified system. Uh-oh. I'm hoping I get a lot of extra interest in my podcast from last Friday where I broke down why the raid was legit. And this is what's interesting to me is when the media all latches onto a narrative that's false and they just all go for it right away. They don't take a second. Oh, the trans killer wasn't actually targeting the Catholic kids, even though they showed up at a Catholic mass, the first Catholic mass at school. And they just latch onto it. They just latch onto the Bolton thing as retribution. The investigation began during the Biden administration and made substantial progress during that time. Besides all the stuff that I brought up in the Friday show about how the judge was clear that Bolton shouldn't have processed this stuff. He probably had documents he shouldn't have, and he shouldn't have put them in a book. The judge made that clear. He said, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm making it clear. All right, a positive thing that's happening on the law and order front. Tom Homan is vowing that Kilmar Abrego Garcia will get deported. I got my teeth in this thing, and I'm not letting go. We got audio of this. Let's play it.
He's a significant public safety threat. You got it right. He's a gang member, designated terrorist. And he's been ordered removed by 2 different federal judges. He's been indicted for human trafficking and alien smuggling. He's a bad man. And I'm telling you, I'm giving you my word. He will be deported from this country. I got my teeth in this thing. I'm not letting it go. As far as the story now, he's going to claim asylum. First of all, he's beyond the required 1 year. He's been here longer than that, so he should be able to qualify for asylum. And if the judge rules on the law is about asylum seekers. You got to be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of race, religion, and political affiliation. Well, he's not going to his home country, right? So he's going to either Uganda or any other country we decide to send him to. What is the evidence that he can present that he's going to be persecuted because of his race, religion, and political affiliation? He's got to present that evidence. He doesn't have evidence. So if the judge rules on the law, he's gone.
He's out of central casting for the perfect ice guy. Is there a central casting anymore? Do you know that my former life, my mother, Wynn Marlowe, who is our one of our associate political editors at Breitbart, she was a casting director. And is there a central casting? I could ask my own mother this. That's how I could fact check this. But everyone says it. Homan's out of central casting. I don't know if we use central casting anymore. Just yet another rake that the Democrats keep stepping on. We'll keep highlighting it. Trump comes out with these 80-20 issues. He sets these traps. They all fall for it. And if they catch it, they don't catch it right away. We're starting to see some evidence that some people on the left are understanding that if you can't beat them, you're going to have to join them in some ways. This is a really interesting one. Do we have the clip I'm looking for? There it is. Muriel Bowser, Washington, D.C. Check this.
For carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
It's awesome, right? She's doing the right thing. This is what I was saying to them. This is where, them talking $20 million, for consultants. They just talk to me. And I got to tell you, I got a wife and kids to feed. I don't know that I'm for sale at all, but I would love to see what they'd offer. I can help them. I just don't think they'd listen to me. I help them every day on the show, though, for free. They just listen. I told them, you've got to join Trump in this. This is not even an 80-20 issue. It's a 97-3 issue. The only people who object to this stuff are the most vocal. And this is why things like the Lawfare will continue. This is why things like the Soros-funded DAs will continue to get through in some areas, is because the most radical elements of Democrat voters are not a huge percentage of the population, but they really do control the whole party. They do. And this is what a lot of Democrat politicians have to live in fear of, saying that this is a miracle that Donald Trump is going to help us clean up crime. he's really got his eye on Chicago. I don't have the clip pulled, but Carolyn Levitt was doing the press briefing today, and she was throwing down on Pritzker, saying that the crime and violence and murder in Chicago is going to be his legacy. It's great. It's great. Nepo baby Huey. Keep calling him out. That's his legacy. It's right. It's crime. Every week, I told you, every Monday we start the week with a crime report from Chicago. Breitbart News performs very well in social. People are very interested to see the deterioration of Chicago. Missed you. I'm going to have to interview you on Chicago crime one of these days. We have a slower show. You can tell me your perspective. But this is so smart that Bowser is saying, look, it's great. And this is what every mayor should do. And so I think that, and if not, then they should come up with something like maybe talk to your governor. If you're a left-wing governor, maybe talk to your left-wing governor about perhaps helping out. Gavin Newsom is now going to surge law enforcement in California to crack down on crime. And he did a little press conference. I think this was this morning. And he's got some tough-looking dudes, some with some badges and guns that are standing behind him. American flag, California flag. C-SPAN carries it. And he's making an announcement. You will still have people whose cars are broken into. You still have crime being committed. You'll still have murders. You still feel unsafe, though. So he caveats it. He says he's surging crime, but he caveats that things are still going to be bad. Interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that because Newsom's he's moving fast. And I like his energy. He directs in just terrible places, but Newsom's high energy is going to be great for content for us. And I'm interested to see as one of his constituents, I'm sad to say. So he is on another kick now as he's figured out the key to getting nominated is going to be pandering to the far left and indulging their conspiracy theorists who are extremely online. This is his latest effort at that.
Wake up. You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's...
I'm absolutely convinced.
2028.
You've seen it. He's tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight.
So he's trying to rig the election in plain sight. So he's convinced there's not going to be an election in 2028. Does he really believe there's not going to be an election in 2028? He seems very earnest here. I watched a lot of this. He's doing a meeting with Politico, doing an interview. But it's really interesting because he just completely alpha males the other Politico guy. It's just the very soft interview, particularly soft. And not just soft, there's soft questions. A lot of these interviews, they're hard to get unless the interviewee assumes they're going to be easy. I understand that. But he won't even let him get the question in because Newsom just gets on his high horse. He's doing his funny hand gestures, ranting about all sorts of things. All right. Interested to see. California's got some weird stuff going on. This was a video that went viral online. It was from one of the Pod Save America branded podcasts where John Lovett, who's a comedian who's one of the Pod Save America hosts, he's talking to LA City Council member Imelda Padilla about the housing crisis in LA. And this clip does have to be seen to be believed. Check this out.
Great, that's important, but are you focused on what will ultimately make California affordable for the people in your district?
Well, I am. By law, I really have no jurisdiction anymore because it's an ED1, right? But we still, as a team, got together with the developer, the high school across the street, other stakeholders, and instead of building something that was potentially 6 stories, we got it down to 3 stories. And we also got the developer to also work with us to make sure that it helps the families of the...
So John Lovett's a comedian, so he's got some ability to think quick and react quickly, but you could see his face, and I haven't paused it at the perfect spot, but I'll try to pause it at a better spot. But you could see he's reacting in real time. Like, what did you just say? That you said you worked with the developers to get a housing project from 6 stories down to 3 stories? Now, I personally, as a California resident, I'm somewhat, I don't think the model is necessarily we're just going to build high rises everywhere for poor people. I feel like there's, I could take or leave that approach. But if you're going to bother building, it does make sense if you can go up to 6 stories, maybe go up to 6, just so there's some more units there. If the project's already a go, maybe that's the way to do it. It's so hard to get permitting out here. It's so hard to start getting, the first 2x4 getting it into the ground takes so long in the state. Once in the ground, maybe go up 6 stories. That sounds good. And then she's like, I'm working with the developer to get it lower and do more EVs. And then his face just melts. So you are missing this if you're missing the visuals, but I'll play the rest.
And instead of building something that was potentially 6 stories, we got it down to 3 stories. And we also got the developer to also work with us to make sure that it helps the families of the area. We also said, instead of a ton of office space, we do want you to also incorporate a few more parking lots and EV chargers. So yeah, I mean, there's some developers that have built housing where it looks like a big.
She just wants to do more EVs and less housing. So this type of thing is a lot of the people who represent people. I'm not familiar with Imelda Padilla, but I will tell you that a lot of the people who represent, she's in the LA City Council, and she represents an area pretty close to where I live. I'm not familiar with her stuff. But you get some real dumb people who get in our city council, and I'll play some clips over the years. But maybe she doesn't understand basic economics, and that's not good. That drives housing prices up as there's less inventory. So, we'll find she's got an MBA or something, or an economics degree if I look it up. Spend enough time on it. All right. That's fun. All right. I promised I'd end on some good news, and I have it. The U.S. economy is surging past expectations. Spending and investments are soaring. I conferred with John Carney on what are the top line issues here. The economy grew faster than expected. A solid 3.3% pace, beating both the government's initial estimates and what most economists predicted. And establishment economists are consistently underestimating the strength of the economy under Trump. This should not surprise any of you, but I do flag it for you because it keeps happening. If you notice, the revisions keep going in Trump's directions. Americans are spending confidently. Healthcare, dining out, travel. Consumers are feeling good, which is it's somewhat surprising to me because I feel like I'm interacting with people who are stressed out a little bit more than I would have anticipated this far in Trump's administration. But the data, the proof's in the pudding. The actual spending shows they're spending as if times are good, according to Carney's analysis. Companies are investing in growth. There is a strong growth foundation. So when you strip away government and trade effects, core private sector demand grew nearly twice as fast as initially thought. So you see businesses ramping up spending. Inflation is under control. It's right around the Fed's target of 2%. I mean, the economy is growing fast, but it's not overheating. So, which is a risk sometimes. If you get that discrepancy between inflation and growth, then there's an overheating risk. But we could do that more in a different time. But the government belt tightening is big. I think the fact that state and local governments are cutting back, federal government cutting back in some ways, not always. But there's a reprivatization of the economy, which is being led by Scott Bessent, where the growth is coming from consumers and businesses and not being driven by the government. And that's a fantastic principle that seems to be working, plus the new trade deals, which are creating a lot of revenue for our treasury without having to go and dip into your pocket a little bit more. So exports were weaker. So fewer imports helped the GDP number. Weaker exports suggested the global demand for U.S. goods isn't as strong. So we will keep an eye on that as well. But the bottom line, economy showing broad-based strength with consumer spending, business investing, and inflation staying manageable. The government spending is not driving the growth, and neither is foreign demand. America first. Beautiful. All right, that's it. Great stuff to round out the show. Thanks to our producer, Misty. Thanks, John Cassio, for helping me with clips. Thanks to all of you in the Breitbart audience, Marlowe audience, keeping us right up high in those Apple charts in particular. But don't forget to give us a subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, wherever you like to get the show, so you never miss anything. You never miss anything. And I'm doing a lot more short clips on some of the video platforms. So if you want to see some bite-sized clips, I'm doing those as well. So trying to innovate, slowly but surely improve the product for you month after month. All right, that's today's show. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching and listening.